So you've just received news that you've been fired from your job, or maybe it could be that your school is closing down, or maybe you're just watching this video because you just want to educate yourself, because after all, life is unpredictable. Stay through this video. Thank you for clicking through on this video. My name is Hazel, and today I'm going to be educating you on what to do when you receive news that you're no longer employed at your company. The first thing that you need to do is make sure that you get that termination letter, okay? And on that termination letter, please make sure you take a picture, because it is most likely that it's written in Chinese. So you need to take a picture, and then you need to translate the actual text, understand every single thing that is written there. If you do have a Chinese friend, ask them to also check if they didn't state anything that is not supposed to be there. For example, they might say that you resign, or maybe they're firing you for certain reasons that are your fault. That is going to hinder you, or maybe affect your severance pay. Because remember, when you are being fired, you are supposed to get severance pay. And then how is severance pay calculated? It is calculated according to the years, or rather the duration that you spent working in that company. For example, let's say maybe you worked there for 2 years. If you work for 2 years and then after those 2 years, then they fire you, or maybe they don't renew your contract, then they need to pay you 2 months worth of your salary. Okay. Each year is equivalent to 1 month, right? So if you've been there for 2 years, then they need to pay you your salary times two. If you've been there for 5 years, then they need to pay you they need to pay you your salary times five. You understand? And if you've been there for 6 months, they need to pay you your salary, 1 month salary divided by two. And that means that they need to pay you half of the salary. And then if you're there less than 6 months, unfortunately, you are not entitled to any severance pay. Again, it is according to each city. I'm based in Beijing, so these are the rules that are enforced in Beijing. Okay, let's move on. Now, this is the important thing, right? There's a lot of people who left China who are not supposed to leave China at all, but because they lacked knowledge, then I thought, why not make this video so that everyone is able to be put on ease, and then they know exactly the right process to follow, right? This is the most important one. Now, the first thing is the work permit. So as soon as you're no longer employed, right, you need to cancel your work permit. You need to get the employer to cancel your work permit. No one can cancel your work permit besides your employer, right? Unless maybe the school has closed down and they no longer operate, then the PSB then can make an exception for you, and they can cancel on your behalf, right? The reason why we say that no one can cancel it, because the school has to log on to the portal of the website. When they log on there, then they need to get on your profile and then do the application of the cancellation of the work permit, right? You understand? That's the first thing. Okay. Canceling a work permit can take between 5 to 7 days, 7 working days. For some cities, it can even go up to 2 weeks, right? It depends city to city. Obviously, if you're in a big city like Beijing, like me, obviously it can even take like 3 days. It took 3 days the last time I did my cancellation of my work permit. Okay. And another important thing, they are going to give you a form that's going to have your picture, and then it's going to have a title that says cancellation for work permit, right? And then at the bottom, if you look at the bottom, I'm going to try, if I'm able to, I'm going to insert here somewhere in the video, right? And then at the bottom, they're going to give the reasons why the work permit is being cancelled, right? It's going to have things like termination, it's going to have things like resignation, and so on and so on and so on, right? Make sure that you see what they ticked, okay? Because this is where now people lose their severance pay, because you guys just sign. I don't understand why you guys do that. Like, a lot of people just sign documents. A company is going to give you something, and they'll just say sign, and then you're like, oh no, I'm not going to read, or whatever. I don't know, maybe it's because you guys trust your employers that much. So as soon as you sign, then you submit, and then they are then going to submit to the PSB, and then you're going to get it as soon as it's now ready, right? They are going to get it on the system, right? It's not a physical cancellation letter that you need to get. It's going to be a digital one. Okay, they're going to send it to you whichever way, most likely WeChat. And then as soon as you get it, then you can print it off if you choose to, or maybe you can just send it to your next employer, right? Now let's rewind a little, right? We said the first thing you need to do, you get the termination letter. Second thing that you need to do, you get the work permit cancellation, right? So now you've gotten the cancellation letter. Now the next step is now getting the release letter, right? So I need to also explain this thing, right? Release letter, it's not every school that gives you, right? And also it's not every city that wants it, right? I know, again, my experience here in Beijing, I've never needed a release letter, or at least it's never been needed anywhere on the documents that I was applying on. Okay, maybe the new employer would want to know why, but then it's not a necessity, right? But then laws are enforced differently in each city. But here in Beijing, you don't really need it. But then again, it depends on the company that you are with. Okay. Right. The next thing, yeah, release letter. You get the release letter. Basically, what is a release letter, right? A release letter is basically a letter that is typed down by a company. They're going to type it out, right, and print it out for you, and then hand it out to you, right? It states Hazel of with this passport number was employed by what can I say? I don't want to say my school name. Beijing kindergarten, right? For example, right? From this duration, maybe from 2015 up until 2025, that's just an example, right? Here's a duration, I know. From 2015 to 2025, and then due to mutual agreement, maybe Hazel then chose to resign, right? So again, a release letter is going to have your full names, your real full names, your passport number, sometimes your mobile number at the bottom, right? And then it's going to have the employer, right? The employer's name. And then it also now needs to have the duration. You work from this time to this time. And then lastly, the reason for the separation. Now you've gotten the release letter, they also need to stamp on it, right? Stamp and then put the date of that day. Okay, now you really need to focus, because now we're getting onto the resident permits, right? And this is where most people always get confused, and then people end up overstaying, and then after that some of them even get deported for such silly things, right? You just need to educate yourself, make sure that you understand. Anyways, what is a resident permit? A resident permit is what you get after you get your work permit when you apply. Okay, stay with me. Resident permit, what does it do? It says that Hazel is here for work reasons and Hazel can work. Okay, a work permit alone does not necessarily grant you the permission to work, but a resident permit says that Hazel is now a resident of China, of Beijing, and she is here for work purposes. You understand? Work permit, resident permit, right? A resident permit is not a Z visa. A Z visa is what you get after you get the invitation letter. You go to the visa center. Okay, you go to the visa center, then they put a stamp on your passport, right? When you get your passport back, you get it with the stamp back, yeah? And then after you get the passport back with the stamp, which is the Z visa, that says you are entering China. Okay, stay with me. A Z visa allows you to enter China and say that you are here for work reasons. Okay, and then when you enter China, you then apply for a work permit. After you get your work permit, then you take your work permit, your passport, and everything, and your contract, and you go to the PSB. Okay, stay with me. You go to the PSB, and then there you apply, you submit your passports, and you're applying for the resident permit to stay and work in China as a resident. Okay, after you come back from the PSB, they give you the yellow form. The yellow form, after the yellow form, then you would get your passport back. When you get your passport back, normally the resident permit would have like be valid for like a year, sometimes 2 years, sometimes 5 years. It depends on the type of work that you do and also the title. Okay, now let me not deviate, because I know I've deviated so much. Now that we understand the difference between a Z visa and a resident permit, I don't want nobody saying my visa, my visa, my visa. It's a resident permit. Okay, resident permit. All right, so now let's go back to what we're talking about. Right now, you've canceled your work permit, you've gotten the release letter, and now you need to go and cancel the resident permit, right? So now this is where you guys need to understand. Okay, after you've canceled your work permit, the system is going to give you about 10 days to transfer to the new employer, right? Let's say maybe you resigned, and then now you got to move on to the new job and move your documents, right? You have to cancel the work permit, but it is not compulsory for you to cancel the resident permit. You can just simply transfer to the new employer by going to the PSB and then telling them that you now have moved to this new school, blah blah blah, and then they're going to change it in the system. Okay, now that we understand. Okay, in a case where, let's say, now you're not employed, right, by the new employer, you're still job seeking, right? Because obviously no one prepares to be fired, right? So you've been fired, and then now you gotta start from scratch, look for jobs, dust up your resume, submit introduction videos and all that stuff. Okay, fine. What the government is going to do is they're going to give you about 10 days to cancel your resident permit. But if you don't cancel the resident permit within those 10 days, then you're not going to be able to transfer. You're going to have to start from scratch. Okay, so on a case where now you don't have employment, okay, the government for every city in China is giving you 30 days 30 days to stay on that resident permit. If you stay more than 30 days after your work permit has been cancelled, then you're automatically going to be seen as someone who is overstaying. Okay, let me try to say that one more time. After you've cancelled your work permit, you are legally allowed to stay on that company's resident permit for 30 days. If you stay more than 30 days, then you are regarded as someone who's now overstaying. Okay. Now, let's just say you do cancel, right? You do cancel immediately. Immediately, they cancel your work permit, and then they take you to the PSB to go and now cancel the resident permit. The system is going to automatically put you on a stay visa, right? They're going to ask you questions there. Why are you canceling your employment? Or rather, why are you canceling your resident permit? And then you can tell them that you've been fired, or the school has closed down, or maybe you're moving to a new employer, or you resign from that company and now you want to cancel your resident permit, right? So you're going to be granted 30 days. Normally it's 30 days, but some people have mentioned that they've gotten like 2 weeks. Others have even been given days. Again, it is always up to your school what they say about you or the reasons they choose at the PSB when they submit with you. Okay, which is now bringing me to my next point. It is always good to end things on good terms, right? Obviously, we know the conditions that are here, the working conditions here in China, right? I mean, now you, even if you do find another job, you don't have to now go and insult your previous employer, right? Because they do have the power to mess things up for you, at least attempt to. Okay. So now just to sum this video up as I'm concluding, if you have been released from your job, you need to make sure that you get the termination letter, you get the cancellation of the work permit certificate, right? You get the release letter. Oh, and also make sure that you do get a recommendation letter if again you ended things on good terms, which I always recommend. End things on good terms all the time, all right? And then if you do qualify for severance pay, make sure that you are paid by your employer, right? The most important thing that I can advise you on is to make sure you always keep proof of everything. Take screenshots if you have to, keep proof, everything, emails, if you guys communicate in emails, just make sure you have all the digital copies, put it on your phone, put it on your laptop, put it on your iPad, put it on all your devices, because you need to make sure that you have proof, because again, this is China. And when I say this is China, that alone explains everything. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you do have any questions, you are more than welcome to add me on WeChat. We do have an organization that caters and assists all South Africans and every other expat who are overseas. We do everything pro bono. We are a non-profit organization. We also do have group chats as well where we can engage as a community. So please do make sure you add me on WeChat. My QR code is going to be somewhere here, or maybe I might put my WeChat ID, either of those. Right, if you stayed till this long, thank you so much for watching this video. And if you have been fired, I'm very sorry and wish you all the best on your new journey. Please make sure that you do apply for jobs and you try as much as you can to always hustle, always try and always have backup plans, because again, This is China. Thank you so much and goodbye.